How we doing, everybody? Welcome back to the Sean Atwood channel. I'm Ron Swanson, and this is the biggest update on our friend Julia that I've done in a long time. We have to be incredibly intelligent, okay? And we need to remove from this any questions that are about who Julia is or isn't. Tonight, we're going to ask ourselves, does this sound fishy? Is this the legal system that I thought we had? And we're going to do two shows tonight. We're doing one right here in the Sean Atwood channel and another one later on my channel. And we're diving in to some pretty interesting things. And what we're going to be addressing here on Sean's channel are DNA cover-ups, secret groups making, well, not secret groups, but shady groups of shady groups who've had meetings with Julia, and how those meetings add some more fishiness to this. I'm really sorry about the way that I'm talking with this. I just have to do it in a certain way. Now, Julia was arrested in February for, as soon as she touched down in the UK, we all know that she was arrested, and this is really where the next stage of her story began, right? Because up until this point, she was putting forward her evidence for the answers that she wanted to get, or still wants to get. And when you assess the charges, when you look at her situation, and you look at the justice and the oddities that are going to be presented to you, you are not left with any other conclusion that this case is being handled in a different way than a multitude of other cases that involve harassment or stalking. It's interesting because we all know the high profile ties this case has. And thank you, Lisa. There's a lot of people out there who are on Julia's side. There's a lot of people who aren't on Julia's side. But at this point, we need to be asking ourselves, why is this being handled the way that it is? And we're going to disclose some stuff tonight that has never been disclosed before. And we're going to do it in a very intelligent manner. Okay? So, let's get on to this. So, Julia arrested in February. And you've got to remember, earlier in, I believe it was December, she went into a police station and asked if there was any reason for her to be arrested, if there was any warrants, if there was anything that the police wanted to talk to her about, and they said no. Now, they certainly changed their tune in a space of 8 weeks. Now, keep in mind, all of the contact that Julia had with certain individuals was all based around her wanting to know her identity. And obviously, that's kind of like a last resort, you know? It's kind of a serious last resort after you've burnt out all other avenues, which I have question marks at the end of them as well, as to why it was allowed to get to this point. If there is no conspiracy, why would anyone's family allow it to go this far and not just give this girl what she's asked for? Question mark. Moving on. So Julia is being held in a proper prison with people who have unalived people who are serious criminals. And because she is not from the UK, it is very difficult, apparently, for her to get bail. I mean, we're talking about charges with no violence, no threats, nothing. We're talking about a girl who has come with thousands of metaphorical PowerPoint presentation slides of why she feels like being pushed to the end of her tether and having to come in person and ask is their last resort. Narrative has never changed. It's all about answers. And we've all heard phone calls that have taken place between Julia and certain factions of the British police. We've all heard about the budget that has been put in to this investigation for a certain high profile missing child. And there has been multiple uses of the system, okay? Loopholes and ways for individuals to alter not only dates, but those who are on both sides, not on both sides, but on the highest level of legal decision making. Let's put that. That's you can make your own mind up what that is. The individuals whose job it is to, at the highest level, make the decisions in a courtroom. It's almost like when there's a individual who's maybe showing signs of wanting the actual answers in this case, something happens where dates change and new individuals are brought in at the highest level for that court date. And you'd say to yourself, that doesn't mean anything. That's coincidental. But I'm going to go and just quickly run to the fridge. I thought I'd brought a drink over, but I haven't got a drink. Just give me 30 seconds and just ponder that just for a moment, please. I apologize. All right, apologies, everyone. Thank you. Oh, God, I'm tangled in a wire. Okay, so please like and share. Please like and share. So when we have dates being changed and individuals who work within the legal system at the highest levels who seem to be being shifted around in favor of one side of the narrative that is playing out in this legal case. I can imagine you know which side of this legal narrative I'm referring, because it ain't the side, it ain't the Jedis, right? Okay, it ain't the Jedis. So we're going to talk a lot more about the trials, the hearings, the individuals who are creating this miscarriage of the justice system. But we're going to focus on this live on Sean's channel on something that took place earlier this year. And what took place was a request, okay? A request by a department or a team of the British police who are at the forefront of a missing girl case. They are at the forefront of it. You may even remember Julia having conversations with some of these individuals on phone calls. A request being made for a private discussion with Julia. And they were told that, lawyers don't need to be present. When I found out this information months ago, I actually got goosebumps, right? Because behind closed doors in dark places, evil deeds be done. And on this day, 2 representatives of this organization, before that, Julia was brought some paperwork. And that paperwork was requesting a fresh DNA sample from Julia. And when she asked why, I'm paraphrasing here, hey, it's because it's going to be used for what you want. Wink, wink. Oh, this is not complete lies, sadly. Sadly, this is not complete lies. Honestly, I wish all of this was complete lies. So these 2 representatives turn up after a fresh DNA sample has been given over. And this meeting took place on April Fool's Day. If you don't see a pattern of pre-organized disrespect, and it's insane. These 2 individuals, one of them stated, we've done a test. And the results of that test are in. And Julia requested to be shown the paperwork, to be shown the results. And she was told that she would not be given access to that. And for me, I don't understand how secret meetings and undisclosed paperwork surrounding something that is so crucial to a girl's freedom. Now, for me, there's so many things that have happened that make me wonder how the hell this girl is still in prison. Why have we repeatedly seen things happen that are playing out in a way that lean in to a conspiratorial side? And there's a lot more to each of these points. And there was a lot more I was planning on saying on that point this evening. But I think there's a smarter way for a deeper release of information to happen than me sitting here talking about it. And you know those trust me bro memes? Trust me bro, trust me. That is effectively the mindset they are pushing on Julia. And I will say this. Julia's response to all of this was so knowledge-based, her rebuttal, that she angered one of the individuals. Now, ask yourself, multiple changes of court dates, multiple issuing of the high-ranking members within a courtroom. One of the excuses was that one of the families from the famous missing child case, they wanted to be at the court hearing because they're part of it. Not the famous family, but another family. And apparently they were going on holiday, so a loophole was used where they were proposing a new date, but because a new date had been proposed, the representative at the highest position within the court system had to be changed, but then the date was kept the same. And there's obviously intricate systems at play within the legal system that can be used. And of course, I am in no way, shape, or form insinuating that anyone within the legal system of the UK would manipulate the system for their own good or for a higher conspiracy. I'm just merely pointing out what has happened. I would also like everyone to understand that opinions are not facts. And we all should remember that. Now, I'm just reading my notes here. A lot of this I'm going to carry over into what will be the next stream on this, because it's so spicy and I would rather be accountable for doing this on my own than endangering the main channel. Because Julia has been in this prison for close to 6 months now. And if we were to argue that from a legal point of view, even if she was to be found guilty of the charges that remain, she's already served her time. And what is crucial, her latest court date was today, Julesy Bob. Her latest court date was today. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, Ron. There's nothing fishy about that or anything that's going on there, right? Well, we'll learn that in the next stream. And this whole week, we are going to be delving in to Julia's case. We have got experts in incredible fields, genealogy, DNA, whose identities are going to be getting protected by myself. I have rigorously checked my sources, and for those who are remaining to be checked, you will be. And what you're going to hear, the data never lies. And when I tell you what is going to be disclosed this week about new ways that the pro-Julia movement, the free Julia movement, has put into motion, it's almost like taking down the giant because they forgot to lock the garden gate. You know, it's like all these serial unalivers that go to jail because they've got a tail light out. You know, it's one of those. And if all of this pans out the way we think it is, this will result in an entirely new legal way of ensuring a DNA test against Julia and the family who are at the center of this case. Now, what's interesting is any new tests that have been done on Julia have been done apparently against fresh samples of the girl in question. How did that happen? It's interesting, because Julia's never wanted that test done. She's wanted a test done to the family, the parents that are involved in this. So it would make sense that we go down an avenue that gets Julia the answers that she wants. And when when people who've done a lot more work and deserve a lot more credit, even though they're under a veil of secrecy, as I'm happy to protect my sources, one of which who has been involved with me almost daily since all this started. When you hear the avenues that are being pursued and the success, if this goes through, is going to blow your minds, because genealogy, Julia has had a lot of bad characters in her saga thus far. One of them being Fia, who completely and utterly treated Julia like a character from a movie where you've got spies being handled by a handler, right? And terribly, though, you know. And there's a lot of allegations and missing things from this whole chapter of Julia's life, because Julia was in a situation where she needed to feel like she needed to call the police. And, you know, she got liberated from that woman's clutches. Fia, please see the scrolling bar down at the bottom. I would love to have a conversation with you. I would love it. Honest to God. I imagine, like, the patience that your better half must have for all of your shenanigans is just unreal. We're talking about a woman who falsifies all of the data and falsifies all of the employees on her website, allegedly. I've proven that she does, but that's fine. AI generated images for staff, false ratings, using websites where you can publish your own article about yourself in a section of their website that allows people who you're sharing it to view it as if it's a news report that that website has reported on. Multiple times trying to, she's the ultimate clout goblin, the ultimate clout goblin. And I think the best one with Fia was when she was in that movie for 30 seconds and then tricked all of her subscribers to thinking she was a main character role by making her own version of the cover of the movie. We've then had new people come in, such as Serge, and the timings of a lot of people that come into Julia's life are so prevalent. The promises she's been made, the way things get handled, it only leaves you with questionable conclusions. And it's got nothing to do with anything other than Julia getting answers. And I've always said this. Now, when individuals are meeting behind the scenes secretly and not handing over information that clarifies the points that they're making, what does that tell you? Like, how are we meant to feel about that? And if all we're doing is keeping a young woman in prison for a non-violent crime, where individuals who are charged for the same level of harassment, would be categorized, hang on a second, as a Section 2 harassment. Going and talking to somebody where you're not being threatening, you're not shouting, you're not being aggressive, and you're not harassing somebody because of an obsession or anything like that. Her narrative's never changed. A Section 2. That would warrant a minimum amount of contact, minimal threat level. It goes to one court. But isn't it interesting that Julia's case has a very different section, if you will? If I told you that a certain individual in prison, could be Julia, could be someone else, has a level that is associated with serial unalivers, and it goes to the highest court in the country, why would that be the case? Why would that be the case? Like, anyone? KT, we're actually going to be talking about the medical history in one of our up-and-coming shows. Thank you, KLG, for the gifted 5 members. What a legend. Thank you. I'm not going to play the sound effect because this is too serious, but thank you. Thank you. What does that tell you? When she is being labeled at a higher level, or maybe she's not. Maybe she's not. This could be about anybody. But if you had an individual who should be labeled one thing, and there's options in that category, and she's stuck in the most high level side of it. Ron, why are you not saying it? I am saying it. Oh, wait. No. We've already said it, KT. We've already said it on a previous show. I'm just recapping it all, if that makes sense. Because some of it's really difficult for people to take in over the long lives. So I'm going to start dialing in on key points that are actual evidence of things, if that makes sense. Sorry. It's not new. It's a recap I was talking about there. This is new, but what I was talking about with that is a recap. So it's incredible how many stories, conspiracies, tinfoil hat moments, like moments where you feel like I should draw the curtains in case the red sniper dot comes in, has came across my desk since Julia went to prison. And the glorious thing is we still are legally allowed to have an opinion. And we are going to hear a lot of opinions in the coming weeks. And we're going to re-engage discussion of this case, Julia, everything that's been brought to light before, and where we think this needs to go. Because there has been multiple addresses given for bail. Multiple. There has been subsequently large chunks of cash requested as part of a bail agreement. Could be Julia's, could be hypothetical, could be anybody's. But allegedly, that's something that happens in this country. I didn't know that. So Helsinki, if it was anyone else in the world but Julia Vandelt, I would agree with you. Because all I'm going to say, and you have to understand, read what you've said, there is problems occurring in every aspect of this. And certain aspects are already showing that trust is important. Dedication is important. And in the next live, we're actually going to be discussing a crucial point. And yeah. Hang on. I'm not able to follow what you're trying to say. Is there a reason you're being so cryptic? I mean, you sound like what you're saying is in the public domain. Why is this immense secrecy? You'd have to be more specific than that. The stuff that I've been talking about, first of all, at the beginning of this, definitely isn't in the public domain. And you'll need to be more specific, honestly. Hang on. Let me just read what you guys are saying. So we are now at the stage where somebody just said we reached out to Amnesty International. So what you guys are going to do now is start bringing attention to the hypocrisy of this case to companies, institutions, foundations that can help with this sort of legal case. And focus on the fact that this is a young girl in the British legal system who, for whatever reason, is showing more signs of being a political prisoner than being given any sort of rational, regular treatment. And we're going to talk about things on Saturday that completely go into the treatment that Julia has been given in that institution. And they point to nothing more than a system that is trying to break her down through denial of services, denial of treatments. And today, and what you're going to hear, the reasons behind why she was like this today, was the worst day in all of this. I have never heard Julia so upset and enraged as she was today. Good question, Sharon. A really good question. Really, 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 really good question. When anyone in the entire Julia team gets that answer for you, I'll let you know. Now, think about all the individuals that have been covered on the Sean Atwood channel with regards to serious crimes that have taken place and how the police have ignored how serious those crimes are. And we have a young girl who, again, is no threat to anyone, being broken down systematically. You'll find out on the next live, mate, at Uber. She's been, how can we bring attention if we are being told to bring attention to? That's my point. I've been following this. Okay, don't worry, Dame Anna. I've just got to watch what I'm saying on this channel. I don't want to drop. I've just got to watch what I'm saying. So I can reiterate things that may or may not have taken place, and you're going to have to take from your own intelligence that these things have been reported to me direct. And when you have individuals portraying information with no proof in a dynamic that feels shady and covert, that should tell you something. When we have loopholes in the law that are being used for whatever reason to change the officials at the highest point in the legal system, that then seem to go on to fuel a perpetual cycle that is favoring one side, allegedly. On an individual who has posed no threat to anyone and has been labeled an incredible, on paper, she's been labeled the same as some incredibly dangerous individuals that warrant a higher level of court. Now, do you think in the grand scheme of conspiracy, oh, that's the wrong banner. Do you think in the grand scheme of conspiracy that you would have your claws into the lower end of the legal system or the higher end of the legal system if you were wanting control over a narrative? It would be the highest point. And we have seen a repeated pattern of favoring some shady characters in the legal system in the UK throughout the years. Cover-ups. I quote John Wedger when he tried to announce he was going to expose what he's seen as a Met officer working for the police. And he was categorically told, if you do this, they will unalive you. And he did it anyway, and they've tried for years. The individuals responsible for conspiracy and cover-up in this country have been allowed to flourish because they take their narrative seriously. Now, being told that tests have been conducted on DNA that has appeared from nowhere with samples from individuals that prove only one side of a very broad story with Julia. Because as you're going to learn over this week and over the coming episodes, there is massive DNA results that we've already seen. They're out there. We're going to talk about those. we've already discussed tonight in a cryptic way that apparently more tests have been done, but we ain't going to see them, and neither is one of the people involved in those tests. And it is incredibly scary when we're this close to something that reeks of so much cover-up, so much conspiracy and fishiness. We've said it since day one. There's no part of Julia's story that makes sense at all. None of it. Now, what if the bigger story to this ends with a result that the question everyone was asking and Julia was asking at the start of this turns out to give a conclusion that favors those who stand against Julia? Without any proof, of course. But what if the bigger picture has got more to do with, let's say, I don't know, male individuals from a family's bloodline? Because there's no way in hell a girl from Poland should have anything in common with a family in England. There's just no way. You have conspiracies surrounding every single facet of the characters that were involved in Julia's upbringing, her life. All of the medical side of this points to something dark. And the more the actions of the legal side of this country play out, the more I'm left with conclusions that only make sense when you apply conspiracy. Because we're not morons. Even if you're not on Julia's side, start looking at this through a fresh set of eyes. Because it's easy to write off, I don't think she's this or that. But actually listen to her story. Actually listen. Because rarely do you ever see a situation. For example, Julia has spoken about an Italian girl who apparently thought she was a missing child, and she got tested and was given her results and was ruled out. And would you believe it or not, that narrative is now being denied by individuals who may or may not have met and questioned and had a discussion with Julia. So how are we in 2025 in the era of vaporizing reality and reshaping narratives? Julia is still sitting in jail, yes. But listen, man, Julia sat in jail, but we've got individuals who are illegally in this country who are committing sex crimes against young individuals who are just getting ankle tags. All right? That's the justice system. Remember that. Now, Julia was meant to have a bail hearing today, and she did. We're going to talk more about that on the next live, which will be happening after this one. You will get a notification to automatically come over. This isn't a view harvesting or anything. This is me taking accountability for the information I'm putting out there to legally avoid any issues for my friend and employer. So just so you know, got enough going on there. All right. is actually really, in fact, never mind. Shut up, Ron. Focus. Why is she in jail? Because she has been charged with communications with a famous family over her repeated request for a DNA test to rule out whether or not she is part of said family. And she came to the UK and went to the property and asked them, after sending text messages and other things like that, to try and communicate with them. And at no point was there a verbal exchange between anyone involved for her to stop these communications. There was no blocking or anything like that. And once the DNA result of 67% was released and she came back to the UK, she was instantly arrested at the airport. Now, it's interesting because players came into play right as that information came out. We were all celebrating, okay? Julia, for whatever reason, was coaxed into getting on a plane to the UK. And then new players in this saga seemed to not have been the best decision. Because as soon as that 67% was announced and she stepped foot back in this country, she was arrested. And then all of those headlines about a 67% DNA match for Julia to be related to the father of a famous lost child, all of the news headlines quickly changed to, oh, crazy woman back in the UK claiming to be this, crazy that. It was, okay, Danielle, 1 second, please. Thank you very much. I will show you. One moment, please. One moment, please. Oh, my tummy is rumbling. Okay, so this was days before Julia's arrest. Come on. There we go. You can see here, 17th of February. Woman claiming to be Madeleine McCann releases bombshell new DNA test results 18 years after the British toddler disappeared in Portugal. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. The final analysis of the DNA results led to the most explosive claims in a 3-part post. Ms. Vandelt's source making a perfect match with her DNA to the samples taken from the scene of the toddler's disappearance. The source, who allegedly wishes to remain anonymous, is said to have had analyzed her hair obtained from the floor on the crime scene in Portugal, as well as the saliva obtained from the bed quote scene, which were all publicly put in the report. After cross-referencing, the source said the results showed a 69.23% match, suggesting a biological connection between the two individuals. They also said that Vandelt's DNA can be fully linked as being inherited from the father's profile. Fully linked as being inherited, fully linked, said to be from Jerry McCann's DNA sample, which was used from the official report from a certain agency that is in charge of all of this, that they represented as his DNA. They concluded by saying the genetic evidence strongly supports that McCann could be Julia Vandelt's biological father. Is there any twins in the family? Is there any evidence of a really weird twin conspiracy? Because metaphorically speaking, if you've got twins inside you and you're part of a big mad cabal and you tell everyone you're pregnant and you've got a baby on the way and you come home with one baby, right? No one's going to question where that other baby's gone. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying that is weird. Okay. As the data aligns perfectly with parental-child relationship. Now, isn't it interesting that history shows us that Julia comes out with something and then a character comes into play that then subsequently derails and destroys everything? Now, Julia came to the UK and then was arrested immediately at the airport, like proper movie style. Like touchdown, bosh, gonzo. Our friend Karen was arrested, you know? Shout out to Karen. Karen's story and all this is mad. Like her whole prison situation. I can't talk about any of it, but when they can, man, that woman, wild what she had to go through. They both have gone through, but we can't talk about that right now. What is that you've sent me, Agent Orange? Yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. So this all happened, and then Julia's arrested, and all the headlines suddenly become, "Oh, crazy lady's at it again." And then we also had an American girl come out of nowhere claiming to be a famous missing girl to almost give credibility to, well, look how many people say this. You know? It's interesting. And what's even more interesting is just how strong Julia continues to be in all this. And the mistrust and the cautiousness that she has to have with people. You know, I'm working with somebody, Colin, big shout out Colin, right, who has been putting up, you know, getting great information, great sources, and then I'm pressing the sources. Well, she's having to press them for me, pressing the sources, and you've got to with a situation like this, because there's going to be so many people trying to get in and derail things. So big shout out to everyone that is doing the right thing with this whole getting Julia out of prison. And hang on a second, let me check my notes. Okay. 1 second, sorry. Okay. So all of this I'm going to save for the next live again, because I'm rather be accountable myself. Now, if I was somebody who was against Julia and had spent thousands of hours trying to discredit or put evidence out that you feel proves your point, I implore you to watch this series that we are starting, because numbers and data and genealogy, DNA, there are people who are smarter than me that know about these things that are going to explain some things. And if we start looking at coincidences and weirdness, you can almost allow for a certain level of, okay, that's weird, but it's normal. For example, we were just talking about the Epstein case earlier today and the fact that Epstein's lawyer passed away suddenly, but he was 80 years old, you know? But does that mean that there's nothing suspicious? I don't know. But with Julia and this whole case, we need to assess it from a, why is this happening the way it's happening in this circumstance? Why is she being treated the way that she is by the justice system? It's not about me telling you to think she's one thing or another. I'm not telling you that she's innocent or that she's guilty. You know, that would be contempt of court. So I'm just saying, all of this seems really odd. And I feel like if this was any other situation other than Julia, it would be treated differently, because I have talked to many men and women who have had genuine stalkers and been genuinely harassed, and the police have done nothing. Nothing. Like proper creepy cases. There was one years ago of a streamer called, I think it was Little Anita. She's got Tourette's. Anyway, it got to the point where this guy was camping across the street from her house in a park and approached her with a kitchen knife. And the police didn't do anything up until the point where he came with a kitchen knife. And it went on for months and months and months. And why was that allowed to get to that point? But this seems to be when a headline came out and they had an opportunity that was either created in order to facilitate this or was just a coincidence, right? Just another coincidence, right? It resulted in her ending up where she is. And secrecy and not having full disclosure over results that have a heavy weight in a case that has had millions put into it. 1 second, I'm just replying to the wonderful Paula M. All right, Paula's going to join me for the next show as well. I do believe. Hang on 1 sec. Yeah, of course. So, some of you may say this has been cryptic, and some of you may say I've not said anything, but for those of you who listen will know what it is I'm saying. And maybe I did bottle it a little bit, but it's only because I'd rather take accountability and not say or do anything that can jeopardize, what we have here. So, hang on. Yeah, Paula, it'll be in the next sort of 20 minutes. 1 sec. Also, though, it'll be on Discord. Have you got Discord? As long as you've got Discord, you'll be all good. Because Ron needs music and I can't use this to use music. So you have to join me. Just get on Discord. You're on Discord. Okay, so... Oh, wait, actually, we could actually just use WhatsApp now that I think about it. No, I'll be able to call you on WhatsApp and people will be able to hear you. Yeah, that's what we'll do. We'll just do it on WhatsApp. Don't worry. Hell yeah. So, on my channel, we're going to be doing Discord call-ins if you want to come and discuss this. Don't be offended if you're mid-sentence and I cut you off and silence you, because we're not going to be discussing things that have got specific names of specific people. You have to be able to discuss this in a way or declare this as your own theory, because theories are fantastic. You got to love it. So yeah. Also, Ron will be setting up his new WhatsApp number this weekend so that he can do call-ins that are in the same level of awesome that Sean has initiated on the channel, and I'm looking forward to that. You guys can look forward to a lot more live streams of Ron in the evening. We've got some interviews I'm lining up as well, but this has got to be talked about. We've got to do what we can for Julia, and I can't wait till she's out. I can't wait for you to hear all the mad stories that are not mine to tell. We are going to be doing an episode where we discuss exactly what has gone on with, say, for example, let's say, for example, you had toothache and you have to put in a request for dental care and you've been waiting 5.5 months and been in agony, and somebody who you just met last week put in a request 6 days ago and they got their treatment 6 days after they applied for it. Nothing funny going on there, right? Do you know what I'm saying? Nothing funny going on there, right? Metaphorically speaking. Well, here's the thing, Christina. When we look at where all the help has come from for Julia, there's a very interesting set of connections that lead back to what could be considered in someone's eyes as individuals who could be framed in a way to be seen as part of something that is shady. And I'm not saying anything about anybody's legal representation other than I don't think any of us are impressed at all. Excuse me. Because if a case has been categorized with an individual who is so much of a threat that they have a section of a section of the harassment order that's the highest level of that attached to them, why would you not be representing that dangerous individual with more attention? Because it seems like it's been handled like it's nothing, but on paperwork and the way that it's been handled legally, it seems like an incredibly serious situation. Danielle, there has been shadiness going on with DNAs, and it's disappointing to think just how different Julia's been treated from anyone else. That's about the best I can put it. Now, we are going to be going live over on my channel. Hang on a second. One moment, please. If this live stream disappears from the Sean Atwood channel, it will be backed up on my channel as well. Do not criticize anyone if that happens, because, like, just, yeah, nah, don't. It's not a changing of sides or changing of an opinion. It's like self-preservation situation. Now, I'm just jumping over to where the next live is going to be, which is here. You should get a notification to take you over there, and we'll be starting. When does it say? It says 9:30, but that's a lie. Let's start at 9:15, which is in 15 minutes. Gives us all a chance to grab a drink, settle in. And no one, like Ivy said before, money talks. If you is on the NHS and you got no chance, it's the same. No money, no lawyers. Sadly, no lawyers will take legal aid in case of anything ever. Yeah, I hear you. It's, do you know, it's crazy how murky society is when you start peering into the aspects of it that in your daily life you would never pay attention to. Like, it's like, do you know the dark realities of EMTs? It's scary. It is scary. Yeah, that it should take you over there. I can give you a link though. Hang on. So this is where, oh yeah, this is the one. This is where the next stream is going to be in 15 minutes. And we'll talk a lot more there. Again, it's the right thing to do because that means I'm fully accountable for what I'm saying. So I'll see you over there. Thank you to the mods. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to the Sean Atwood channel. I will see you there. Tomorrow, I will be live 5 till 7. Unless there's anything that Sean's doing on any of the times I've just said, Sean will be doing his thing and I'll be working around it. 5 till 7, then we will be 7 till 9. And yeah, a whole bunch of other stuff too. As soon as I end on Sean's channel, I'll be over on my channel and we'll be continuing to discuss Julia and then probably descending into some madness. So thank you all for being here. I'll see you over in the next one. Peace.